It's January the 19th, 2021. And today we're going to look at turning obstacles into opportunities. I just want to be sure the record button's showing up for everybody. Yes, great. Thank you. And I probably should go over here. All right, so we're going to turn obstacles into opportunities tonight. So for those of you who know human design, we're in gate 60 of human design. And gate 60, most of the releases we are doing tonight are around the topics that are in that gate, in the human design gate. So the sun is hitting the earth, and that's the major energy hitting us at this moment. So there's obstacles that we see, but looking at those obstacles in a new way is what we're going to try to do tonight, is have you look at them and let go of holding on to the old frame of reference and looking at them from a new frame of reference. So that's the plan, is to release what's holding you stuck in old patterns or old ways of thinking or old ways of seeing it, and to be able to literally see opportunities and breadcrumbs that are coming about instead. So that's our plan. So I'm Jeana Locke. I'm a transformational life coach. I am here to help you when you are ready to move forward, to break through all of those upper limits that are holding you back. I have my PhD in applied behavioral studies. I have all of my courses for LPC. I've done about 10 different Eastern modalities, and I combine the dots between all of these different components to help you move forward and to leap into that next big step in your life. The purpose of the Sacred Soul Container is to hold sacred space for you to release what you need to release, for you to activate what you need to activate, and to be able to move forward with greater ease. So as we do that, turning obstacles into opportunities is for tonight. And our plan is to activate, to know what it feels like to feel, sense, see, know, hear, recognize any opportunity, and to know that know what a breadcrumb looks like. So you understand there's a next step. We want to activate you recognizing what the breadcrumbs are, what those inspirations are, and when they're from your soul's wisdom and when they're from ego. We want to activate you doing an action and an inspired response to those breadcrumbs, whether it is just something you're supposed to sit on and wait, but to be able to know what to do at the right time, at the right place, with the right people, and with the right opportunities. So this will be helpful tonight if you are resistant to anything new. If you're resistant to newness and transformation, you make a lot of excuses about why you can't do something. Every time something comes up, you have a zillion excuses on why. Tonight, the releases are for you. You focus, another reason that it'll be helpful is you focus on what's not working instead of what is working. Instead of saying what is working for this, what is working and what's going on, you're focusing on what's not working. Another thing that will be helpful for tonight is if you hold on to old patterns and you're fearful, or you will not even see that there's a new opportunity. So you can't even see that there's an opportunity, and yeah, there's a little bit of yuckness right here, but there's a whole lot of other opportunities arising. Another reason we're going to be looking at this tonight is you feel paralyzed with change. You feel paralyzed by disruption. And instead of being open to sensing, knowing, seeing, or seeing or feeling what those new opportunities could be. So you have this paralysis and disruption fear, and it's like, I can't do anything because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't like change. You tend to discredit synchronicities, and you don't take advantage of them when they arise. You cannot act or respond without knowing the whole process. So if you have a whole deal that you have to know what the next step is, and you have to know every part of the next step and how it's going to proceed and what's going to happen, then this is for you to be able to stop and do. The next step of a breadcrumb is standalone. It's all by itself, and it doesn't involve giving you every component of it. So when you're feeling a shift in perception and you start to feel inspired and all of a sudden you're pulled back into the old pattern, hopefully this is going to help. And always, the purpose of the Sacred Soul Container is to help you move out of survival and into thriving, to evolve as a transformational experience for yourself and for all of those that you energetically touch. So these releases for everybody in our subgroup tonight, and all of those in the bubble, all of those who are in our Sacred Soul Container community, who are monthly or annual, that are here, or anybody who purchases this at a later date. or it's gifted this at a later date. So please don't use this if you're driving or if you're doing anything, you are operating equipment or caring for others. And each soul is in their own sacred soul container. So they've been put in a sacred soul container, and then there's a big bubble around all of us. Then we've grounded, gone through and cleaned the energy around everyone. We'll go back and do that again, just with one more quick flow through. And then to do that. So some of you may want to listen to this later. At any other date, you're going to have the link for it. So you'll be able to go back and listen to it on your own. So our prayer for tonight is, the light of our Creator surrounds us. The love of our Creator holds us. The power of our Creator protects us. The spirit of our Creator watches over us wherever we are. The grace of our Creator shields us from interferences. And the intention of our Creator is to restore and rejuvenate our sovereign connection with the Creator. Yes, thank you. So we're going to get started. So tonight we have used emotion code, body code. We've used limiting beliefs. We've used out of alignment positive beliefs. It has gone through and used a little bit of some download things from theta healing, faulty beliefs that are coming in, and several other different modalities that have shown up. So this is my vibration. Mine is called Great Vibe Transformation, and it's got a combination of some of these and written up in a different way. The first one that showed up was the saboteur. Most of you, if this has probably felt this, about turning obstacles into opportunities. You've had this obstacle and you can't get to the opportunity. You just can't see it. And this is sabotage. It's self-sabotage and sabotage from others. So it's both. And then this sabotage is called self-judging or judging from someone else. It's being that you beat yourself up or they beat you up over past mistakes. There's a mistake from the past. Could have been when you were a child. It could have been when you were a young adult. It could have been when you were an older adult. Whatever it is, you either beat yourself up about it and you remind yourself how you did it badly and how terrible it was, or somebody else around you reminds you of how terrible it was and remind you of how bad it was and remind you of how awful it was and remind you, and they judge you and judge you and judge you. And it releases your effectiveness to take a risk and move forward and to even be open to those new opportunities. So we're going to release that. And tonight I'm going to use some emotion code processes by releasing. Thank you. Is that 100%? So each of you, when you felt that judging coming from somebody else, and it happens when you watched me, just stop and say, somebody sort of judged me, and go over one of your meridians, put your hand out, and imagine your hand is a magnet. And that magnet is going to attract all of the negative energy right up to it. It's just going to suck it up to your hand. Just suck it up. And then use your hand to go over a meridian in your body. It could be your arm. And just suck it up and see, sense, feel, or imagine that negative energy just hitting your hand and sucking up to it because it's a magnet. Just sucked up to it and it attached. Couldn't get off. You could use this meridian, your governing meridian, or any other meridian in the body. Then after you finish and you feel all of that yuckness come off of judging and self-judging, other people telling you, that sister or brother who always has to be right, that parent who may have to make sure that you remember that they know best, whatever that judging is, just let all of that yuck energy stick to that hand and then go over and put it over in I see two ways to do it. I have a compost pile that is at the center of the earth. And I just put my hand out over my compost pile and I go, okay, Creator, drop that magnet, release the magnet. And all of a sudden, all that crap that was on my hand goes into my compost pile, the compost pile that's right underneath me in the center of the earth. And at the end of the season, next year, there's going to be peonies growing everywhere. And every one of those peonies is going to smell wonderful and look beautiful and have all these great colors, and all that crap energy I released, it just grows these beautiful peonies. That's one way I do it. The other way I do it is sometimes I just want to burn it. I just want to burn that thing. So I'll take that and I'll pretend Like I'm an NCIS and I'm Abby, and NCIS. And I look at it and I see there's an incinerator. And God's got this little incinerator. It's right here, just right there, right above my head. And in that little incinerator, I just put my hand up there and it like sucks it all up into it, all the yuckness. And all of a sudden it's burned and it's just transported and goes out to like this smokestack that goes directly to God, and God transforms that to good energy or beneficial energy. So that's how I'm looking at it when we're doing it. When you feel somebody judging you and you can't get that off of you and you want to be able to move forward, just go over one of your meridians and imagine it sucking up the energy. The next one is a sabotage called pleaser. This is one we all do. We are women, the women in this group do it more so than the men, probably, although there are many men who do it as well. And the pleaser is that you have to earn the respect and to be valued by pleasing others. You negate your own feelings. You negate everything about yourself. You let go of whatever you need. And everything is about being accepted by others. So it could have come through childhood traumas that you had to give and give and give to receive anything, that you had to give a whole lot to receive anything back, that you had to earn it, you had to pay for it, and you had to do it. So you keep on doing it. So we want to do anybody who's had a pleaser, the sabotage of pleaser, and you've done it, and just take it and pull all that energy out and let that attach to that magnet on your hand, in your mind, and then drop it off in your compost pile or burn it, whichever one you want to do. I did a whole lot of that growing up. I never pleased my mother in my entire life, ever, not even till before she passed. And I can tell you that I give and give and give because that's how I was taught, that you're never going to give enough to get anything back. So I have to stop and burn that negative energy, that low vibe energy, because it's not helpful. The next one on sabotage pleaser is that you believe it's selfish to have a different perspective, or it's selfish to want something for yourself. You've been told that. You've been told this is a selfish thing. You shouldn't want to do that for yourself. Who do you think you are? You shouldn't have to do that. And I can tell you that has been told to all of us, every one of us, that we've been told we're selfish for wanting something for ourselves, or we're not wanting to do it for them. So what I'd like you to think about is just releasing that. Whenever somebody has said it to you, you know it's not true. There's nothing wrong with wanting something for yourself. And to put it and either burn it or drop it in your compost pile. The last one is, those of you who are caregivers are going to know this, and those of you who have children are going to recognize this, is that you have to rescue everybody else. And what they need is more important than what you need. Those of you who do energy work and you all of a sudden give and give and give and give and give to a client and you give too much, it's because you have to rescue them and fix it. We need to let go of this non-beneficial energy. It's not helping you and it's not helping them. They become dependent instead of becoming independent. So let's release believing that you have to rescue others by pleasing them. And let's just release it and let that energy suck up. Let it go to God. The next one is another sabotager. It's called a controller. This controller is, you feel you're being controlled by others and you want to stay in control. Therefore, you are fearful of not controlling something. It's for people who are really fearful of others controlling them, they have to control everything. So if they have to control it, it's like, if I saw this opportunity and I can't control everything around that opportunity, then I can't go do it. Unless I can control everything around that opportunity, I can't go do that opportunity. Oh my gosh, that's just too many unknowns. I can never do it. That's where we want to release controlling. You have a lot of anxiety and a lot of fears around a situation. You're impatient. So we want to release controlling the situations so that those opportunities can show up and just expand as they're supposed to. Let that release. Control or sabotage is released. Next one is a shared trapped emotion. This shared trapped emotion has come about in this last year, probably more so than before. And it was called lust. And lust is not one of sex or passion. It's the lust of wanting something to control in our world. And it's basically wanting to control our environment right now. We would all like to get back in control of our environments. And at this moment, we feel like we have very little control, whether it's from a political stance or from an environmental stance, or whether it's from a social stance. And all of these stuff, we have no control. We don't have these choices that we can make, and anything we do feels like a bad choice. So we have this lust of wanting control and having the power back over our life again. And we really never have had total power over our lives. We've really lived our lives, and each moment has been a free will experience that we move forward and we choose how we go, and we do the best with what we can with it. But we haven't felt that way about it before. And all at once, we see the lack of being able to use what we think of as free will. So let's release the trapped emotion of lust, which is trying to control everything there is. And let's release that. And let it go to God. And then let's release the fear that we don't have any freedoms, that we don't have free will choice on what we do. We do have free will choice. We have free will choice on the processes we use to move forward. We have free will choices about what we think. We have free will choice about those things we do. So let's just release the fear of not having free will choice. I'm going to let it go back to God. Next one, I'd like you to think about this. It's called a toxic memory field. This toxic memory field is from a time when you listened to your soul's wisdom, or you thought you did. You believed you were listening to what you were supposed to do. My soul's wisdom, or the creator, source of all that is, said, here's what you're supposed to do. You did it. And you did it, and then it didn't work. It didn't work at all. Nothing happened, or it got all messed up, or somebody manipulated you, or somebody influenced you, or something happened that didn't go well. When you did not like the results, something that it was, that you followed through on a breadcrumb, and then it didn't go where you wanted it to go. So you have this toxic memory field of when you did this, and all of a sudden it's like, remember when I did this and that happened? Oh my goodness. And you want to be able to do it. So what we would like you to do is to stop and recognize that each time you think of something that didn't work in the past is that that's not today. You're a different person than you were then. So we want to release those toxic memories, and every time one comes up, let's just release it. We're going to use the meridian on the arm. I'm going to pull up all of those bad memories, let them suck up to my hand. I can just see them coming up on my hand. I'm going to give that back up to God, let him burn them, transform them into good stuff, and clean them up, where they're only beneficial. So those toxic memories that you have, you may not have recognized if it was ego versus your soul's wisdom. You may not have known the difference, and you didn't know how to do that. So sometimes when you do it, you have to stop and look back at the circumstances and the free will choices that there were, or that toxic memory is here's how you wanted it to turn out, but it didn't, which leads us to the next one, which was an emotional reverberation. And the emotional reverberation is when you had that toxic memory, but you still rings inside your body. It's like a ringing. And every time you think of it, it's like that energy is right back with you right now at this very moment and just going all the way through you. It's this terrible sense of dread that I'm going to do it again. It's this terrible sense, oh my God, what have I done? And it's a whole thing that your body becomes out of balance. You feel ringing in your ears. You may feel dizzy. You may feel the top of your head feel like your crown's not even there. Whatever it is, it's reverberating, and it just keeps reverberating and reverberating like a bell, like this. So you can still hear the sound keep on going for a long time. It just keeps on ringing and ringing and ringing. It's like those sounds that keep on just reverberating and reverberating. It's just ringing in your body. So we want to let go of the emotional reverberations of those bad, toxic memories and release those memories. I want to tell you about a memory I have that is reverberated, and I have worked on it and released it. And it comes up fairly often. is that my ex-spouse used to tell me how lazy I was. And he used to tell me how no one would ever want to be with me, and how I was really lucky just to be able to have someone to be able to be with him, and that he was going to tolerate me. I, wasn't pretty enough, and I wasn't enough, and all of these things that I was not enough of. And I believed them. They reverberated in me for years. They reverberated in me in the sense of I never felt attractive. I didn't feel like I did enough. And I worked 16 to 18 hours a day in that veterinary practice. And I was told I was lazy. And it didn't matter how much I did. It was his way of controlling me. And those emotional reverberations still come back to ring to me. If something pops up, it'll almost come back in me, and I feel it going all the way through me. And it'll be like, oh my God, like, what is it? Or I'll look at myself and I see myself and I'll think, I had a really hard time embracing my worthiness because of all of those words that I was told, that no one would want me around, nobody would care for me, how unattractive I was. All of the stuff that was when my back surgery happened and I had to learn to walk again. And who would want somebody who's had back surgery? And who would want all of these things that just reverberated and reverberated and reverberated. And every time I'd have to go in and fill out a form on a medical deal. And when I was single, I would date and somebody would ask about something, they would reverberate. Like I didn't want to tell anybody any of those things. Instead of taking them as, I was paralyzed, I had back surgery, and I learned to walk again, and no one can even tell it now. Instead of being proud of that, I was embarrassed and scared because nobody would want me. It was a really scary thing for me. And those reverberations where his words rang through me forever. They still do. And I clear them all the time. I clear the thing that I'm not lazy. I clear the concept that I am worthy. I clear the concept I'm not ugly. I'm not unattractive. It's all of that, but I still release them to this day. There are layers upon layers upon layers. So once we release them, just learn to release them every time you feel them, because they're not true. They're not in the least bit true. They're not true about you, and they weren't true about me. So let go of them. You may have to do this one more and more, especially if it was your parents that said it, or a person who was super important to your mother, or sister or brother, or supervisor, or someone that you thought a lot of, and then all of a sudden they called you a name or they did something. It may cling to you as a negative energy. You can release it, and if it comes back in and it reverberates, if you keep hearing it after you've released it, it's called emotional reverberation. And just release it every single time and go, oops, that's not me. Send that back up to God, put it in that incinerator, and let that thing go. And for me, I often drop all of those in my pile for my peonies to grow. And oh my gosh, when the peonies bloom, I put them all over the house. I put those peonies blooming in vases everywhere. And it's so interesting because my niece came over this past year and she says, Aunt Jeana, how many peonies, aren't you going to leave any peonies outside? And I'm like, nope, I want to see every peony in the house. I had peonies everywhere in vases. I had them in every room, the bathroom and the kitchen. I had them in the living room. I had them in my study, in my office. I had peonies all over, because for me, it was all that gunk I had let go of and dropped it into that pile of compost, and all of those peonies and the beautiful smell that I could smell and the gorgeous colors of all of them that were like, to me, had turned into positive energy. And I really did let go this year of a lot more stuff because I could sort of see the positiveness because my imagination had let go of it in a compost pile. The next one is called an out of alignment belief. This out of alignment belief is you do not believe that you have a balance in your consciousness and your emotional intelligence, that your consciousness from your soul's wisdom and your emotional intelligence can work together. You don't believe it can. You believe, oh, I have to either do this and be woo, or I have to do this and not listen at all to this. Instead of recognizing that there's going to be a whole consciousness, a whole thing that's going to be able to do this. Just here's where it is. So as we do that, there was, for everybody who is in the whole group, there's about 46, I think, total in this right now. There's a group called Other, that other souls who may purchase this later or join. Everyone is at least 25% of not believing that they can make the balance between their emotional intelligence and their soul's wisdom and balancing it and making it work. But you can. Some of us are 100% out of alignment. So what we're going to do is we're going to see what emotions are stuck underneath it that are holding that in place. The first one, is it an A? No. Is it B? Yes, it's B. Is it odd? No. Is it even? Yes, it's B even. Excuse me, it's A even. Yes. So sorry, Coit. Thank you. A even. Is it 2? No. Is it 4? Yes. It's A4. Yes. Is it A41? No. A42? No. A43? No. A44. A44 is hatred. A44 is hatred. Let's see which part of hatred it is that's holding that thing on us that we cannot have the balance of the other. Is it to loathe, despair, great dislike, aversion? No, none of those. As a result of hurt love? No. Often hatred is a result of a situation. Yes, it's hatred of a situation. So hatred of a situation. Did you have a situation that you did where you tried to balance and it didn't work out and you just hate it? Now, every time you think of it, I can honestly say, I look back at a past marriage that is no longer in existence. And I can stop and look at that and go, oh my gosh. And that's where I'm releasing on this one right now, is that balance of consciousness where I thought I was listening to my soul's wisdom and I thought I was doing my emotional intelligence, but then everything fell apart. And it was probably part of my life plan to have that experience. I am a much better energy healer and I am a much better spouse now. I'm a much better everything in my whole being than I was because of that relationship. But I've had to let go of the hatred of that situation of where I felt like I screwed up royally. So let's release that. Is there another emotion that's holding this on? Yes. Is it in A? No. Is it B? Yes. And B, is it odd? Yes. Is it B1? No. B3? No. B5? Yes. B5. Is it B51? Yes. B51. Conflict. Is it an internal conflict? No, it was external conflict. So this was conflicts that you had with other souls. It could have been with like for me, it was with a spouse. It could have been with your parents. It could have been with your children. It was something you did, and there was a physical, verbal argument, a verbal disagreement, a fight. And even if it wasn't super loud, you felt like you lost. You felt like you lost it, and it was created probably because of that event. So for me, it was probably all of the stuff that happened in the divorce hearings that went through, all of the crap that went down, all the hiding so he couldn't find me and beat me anymore, all of the crap that I had to deal with, all of that were conflicts of the hatred of that situation and me feeling like the fool of all fools. How on earth could you ever believe anything good from this? So let's release that whole concept of those external conflicts that we have had that are keeping us stuck thinking we cannot miss this, because we can. Is there another? Yes, there is. Is it in column A? Yes. Is it odd? No. Is it even? Yes. It is A even. Yes. Is it A2? No. Is it A4? Yes, it's A4. Is it A41? No. Is it A42? It's A42. It's bitterness. Oh, can you hear the bitterness in my voice, people? Oh my gosh. I still feel, I hadn't even realized it till I just came up on this. It just opened. It's like the bitterness is there. The bitterness of having it happen, the bitterness of experiencing it. So let's release the bitterness of the situation that caused you to think that it wasn't okay to have a balance and that you couldn't have a balance. If you notice that reverberation that we just did, the one that was the reverberating situation that just keeps ringing, this out of alignment belief came from that. Whatever those situations were where you had that whole ringing in your body, these out of alignment beliefs are making you think that you can't get balance. We're releasing these so that you can find balance and you can make good choices and you can recognize that your free will can do that in setting those intentions. Is there anything else that's holding this out of alignment belief in place? No. Now may we bring this out of alignment back into place? Yes. So we were at 25%. Some people were only 25% out of alignment. Some were 100. So is there anybody who is 0? Yes. 16 people are at 0 now, which is very good. They're a total back alignment. They're good. They've gotten rid of that negative belief, that whole thing that you can't do it. And the 100% ones who are 100% of alignment. Not 60, 55, 54, 53, 52. So we went from 0 to 52%. Some of you who still feel this on that emotional ringing in your body about a bad situation, and you feel like that you can't get a balance, you may want to go back and re-listen to it. If you think of any other emotions holding you in place, put your hand up, put it over you, pull it up, let those energies stick to the magnet, that your hand is a magnet, put that over your compost pile and drop it. The next one, negative belief, is you fear change. It's a complete negative belief that you just fear change. You fear any change that's going to happen. You fear how it's going to happen. You fear when it's going to happen. You fear what's going to happen with it. And you push away any breadcrumbs that are change. Anything that is change. Anything that has happened. For those of you who have been around an Alzheimer's patient or a patient with dementia, they do not handle change. They cannot handle change. Anything that is different, they cannot handle. They can't take a new breadcrumb and take that new thing that shows up and make it work for them. It is too overwhelming. A new aide to come in and help is fearful for them. Putting on different clothes is fearful for them. Using a different toothbrush can be fearful for them. Change is that. So that's the same thing that you would have, is that you have got these things that your neurotransmitters in your brain can't make a new pathway. And because you can't make a new pathway on that with that neurotransmitter, you're unable to get change. I need to send you what a neurotransmitter pathway looks like. I've got a video on it. So we want to release the fear of change. And we want to activate. Oh, they just told me this one. So sorry, I had to go back and write it down. So we'll get it in there. We want to activate a new pathway. So when I taught college, I was teaching undergraduate psychology classes. We would get to this area where this whole concept about neurotransmitters would come in and how they work. And so on a Monday, I taught Monday, Wednesdays, or Tuesday, Thursdays, whichever I was on that first day of the week, I would say, how many red cars did you see on the way to work today? Or how many lime green cars did you see on the work? Whatever I wanted to do, a very unusual color or something. That's something that I was pretty sure they saw. So how many red vehicles did you see today on the way from school to where you are? Everybody was traveling either by bus or by car, or even if they walked across from their dorm to the parking lots, they were going to walk through a lot of cars. It was easy to see. We're not seeing cars right now with where our world is, but we saw cars then. And everybody would go, oh, I saw this many. And usually the only time they could name how many cars they saw is somebody ran a stop sign or ran a red light and almost hit them. They didn't notice how many red cars they were at all. So I just asked, and I'd have them write it on the little index card and make it as a bonus point thing to have them do. So on Thursday, the next class, I'd say, first thing, take out your little note cards. I'd give them their note cards, put their name on it and the date on it. I said, how many red cars did you see today? And they could all name how many red cars they saw that day, because I'd put a new neurotransmitter into their pathway for them to notice red cars. And all of a sudden they noticed the synchronicity that there were actually red cars. When you put into your neurotransmitter the deal that you want to see something good, that's what you want to see, you're going to see it. So if you ask to see it bad, you're going to see bad. If you ask to see good, you'll see good. If you ask to see red cars, you'll see red cars. Whatever you do, your neurotransmitters are going to make you remember when you see them. So as you go there, that's that whole thing about being able to stop and say, if you do not allow your neurotransmitters to reform new paths, it's what Dr. Joe talks about all the time. His whole thing is just about seeing it the way you want it. And when you envision it that way, then you made a new neurotransmitter pathway, and the energy went to have a positive experience. The energy went to rebuild that concept. So that's what we want to do on this one. The next one we're going to release is traumas. And the trauma we're releasing is a trauma of frustration. It is either in this lifetime or it's in the past lifetime. It could have been something you were trying to do and you were following through on the breadcrumbs. And I bet everyone in this group from top to bottom can say, I was following the breadcrumbs. I was doing everything they said to do, and nothing was working. Nothing was working. And it never seemed to work. So, but that frustration became the energy where you kept your focus. Instead of looking at for more breadcrumbs and seeing where it was leading, you just got frustrated. So oftentimes in the class, people who are taking mentorships with me, or even people who do an Akashic Records reading, they'll ask something and I'll say, there's a book to read. Here's a book you might read. This book may not be the book you're supposed to do something about, but it's going to lead you to the next book or the next thing. It's going to lead you to the correct modality. It's going to lead you to what you don't want to do, so you'll know what you do want to do. It's going to lead you somewhere. I can't say it's the right book, but it's what your guides are telling you would be what you do now, so you find the next breadcrumb. And don't take it as negative if it's like, oh, I would never use that modality ever. Then don't worry about it. It leads you to exactly where you're supposed to be. I did a modality when I first started working in energy work. I hired somebody, I did a modality, and every single time I did it, I became physically ill. And I'm talking about throwing up physically ill. Every single time I did it, every time, physically ill. It's not a bad modality, but it led me to say, that's not the modality for me. And it led me to the next modality, which was emotion code. And when I got to emotion code and I found a practitioner, I had a great experience and I learned how to move forward. I learned how to muscle test. That moved me into the next modality of being able to do stuff. It put me into body code. It put me into Akashic Records to be able to know when I am intentionally in the records and when I'm not, and when ego's in control. And I can just ask, is ego doing this session? No. And if it says yes, I know to ask ego to leave. But I learned from that one experience that took me on breadcrumbs that took me exactly where I am today for you. And I would have never been there if I hadn't had that experience. So sometimes we take that frustration we had and we make it a negative thing instead of building it into a positive opportunity. So we want to release that frustration and what the heck happened to us and release it, pull all those negative emotions out. Be thankful that we had it so it can lead us the next way. Drop them into the compost pile. Thank you. And then let it move forward. And stop and recognize that's what it's supposed to have done. The next one is called fear of transformation. Fear of transformation is, what would it look like if I actually did this? Is my life going to change a big time? This was me. This was me as a person who was in education, who loved education, who loved teaching, who loved being a program developer, who loved putting early college, high schools together, who loved developing pathways, who totally loved building memorandums of understanding between a community college and 10 universities. And every kid never had to repeat a class, and every class they took counted. Oh, you talk about inspiration and motivation. That was me. You want to talk about fear of transformation, of letting go of that to move into energy work. And all they said to me, the guides just pushed me and pushed me and pushed me and pushed me until they pushed me into it. But the fear of transformation for me was huge. The fear of letting go of all of that to go do this almost killed me emotionally. My will to live was literally at 3%. I could not imagine with anything in me, anything, letting go of that to go do this other. I didn't think anything was wrong with the other. It was just that I was doing so much. And how could I actually do more? And it was like, nope, you're supposed to be over here. You're supposed to be over here. I was working with one of the mentor students today. She says, you're right where you're supposed to be. You do know that, right? And something was the right timing to hear it because I really had missed some beginning of semester. And I had really missed not being that part of the experiences to make a difference. And I really needed to hear I was making that difference. So let's release the fear of transformation and of being different than we thought we were going to be, of having a different program or plan of study or a different direction. And that may be you think you're supposed to be in energy work, and all of a sudden they put you back into an organization, and you're in this organization and it's going great and it's awesome. And that is where you're supposed to be. But you thought, oh, I'm going to be an energy worker over here, or I'm going to be whatever. And it's that you're there. Letting go of the fear of the transformation. This is really hard. And for people who've had really strong professional careers to let go and move into the flow of another modality process or another career process, sometimes it's super strong. For me, it was letting go of PhD and Dr. Locke. And for me, it was letting go of any standardization of being able to do that. And it was really hard. The fear of being transformed. I was fine doing it on the side, but to transform into it full time was really hard. So we want to release it. The fear of disruption in my life, and there were parts of your life you really liked that was like me. So we're going to release the fear of the disruption. So when I see those breadcrumbs, and those breadcrumbs are right there and they're sticking at me and they're just there and I can see them and I know, oh my gosh, that's just a perfect breadcrumb. But Lord of mercy, that's going to be so hard because that's going to totally disrupt my life. I'm supposed to be a so-and-so and that's not going to fit. I want to be this and that's not going to fit. So we want to release the fear of disruption because disruption is huge. The fear of being innovative and others judging us for that innovation. The fear of how many of us can actually stop and say that we have to defend what we've done? Just instead of saying that's what I do. And it's become that fear of being innovative, and it's because of the judgment of others. It's not because you're fearful of being innovative, but you're fearful of the judging of others because it's going to look so different. And right now, all the breadcrumbs that are coming are not going to look like they used to look. Nothing's going to look like the way it used to look. If you have a brick and mortar business, it's not going to look the same. If you have an energy healing business, it's not going to look the same. If you're working in a culture, in an organization, in education, or in a corporate world, or in a nonprofit world, it's not going to look the same that it did 10 months ago, 11 months ago. And it's probably never going to look the same again. And stopping to say, am I going to be open to being innovative right now and others not judging me? And how many of our families or our parents or our spouses or our friends have judged us for what direction we've taken, or that we've changed jobs or we've done something. So the fear of innovation is pretty strong. Let's release it. Thank you. The last one I wanted to talk about was the biggest fear is that when we embrace some of the breadcrumbs, we may lose friends and family. And all of a sudden they may be gone because they are not willing to accept the breadcrumbs that we took. There have been people they've met that perfect spouse, but their family didn't think it was a perfect spouse. So the family was critical of that and rejected, and the person had to choose, this is going to be my spouse or not. And if the family didn't come along, it was really hard to choose between this is the person who's really great for me, and this is what my family says, and having to choose. And that fear of the loss of friends and family is really significant when it comes to looking at the breadcrumbs, especially when those breadcrumbs have us do something that looks physically different, whether it's diet or whether it's exercise, whether it is a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a career path, whether it's an educational path that we even going to do what courses we do, or even how we combine something to make it new. Whatever it is that if I embrace my synchronicities, I can't even say it right now, I will lose all my friends and family if I don't do everything the old traditional way. But if I follow those breadcrumbs and I just follow that, was like, oh, this says to go here, this says to read this says to explore this, look at this. And all of a sudden this awesome person comes into your life, or this friend comes into your life, but some of the friends may drop away. So we're going to release the fear of losses of friends and family. And the fear of the old structure is what they would almost call it. Is there anything else? Now we'd like to be able to stop, and we're going to do, and it's what I call optimizing our stuff. Like we have cleaned out all the stuff today. You've cleaned out different things for each of you. I cleaned out different things in me. And I want to go through, and just like a computer, on a computer, it'll have this big you'll have on the computer, you'll have optimizing, and it could have a big pink circle on it. And when it does that big pink circle, some of that is going to come up where it's going to show that it's going to have these pieces in there that are bad pieces. And some of them have huge bad pieces. They have bad places in that whole system that you have in your system, all your energy body, all of your energy systems. And there's all these bad places that we just removed out. So we're going to optimize, which is what a computer does when it cleans up the gunk out of your computer, optimizes it, and it leaves space for new stuff to come in. So we're going to recalibrate, we're going to optimize, we're going to rejuvenate. You call it whatever you want to call it, but that's what we're doing, is we're letting all that gunk we just cleaned out, we're removing it out so we have room for new stuff to grow. That's the plan for that to occur. So I'm going to start using it, and I'll just let the pendulum run as we're going. So we want to rejuvenate our records, optimize our records, recalibrate our records, and we're going to turn obstacles into opportunities. Obstacles into opportunities. We want to activate that you know what it feels like to see, to sense, to know, to hear, to recognize an opportunity. We are downloading from the Creator that you know what it feels like to sense, to see, to feel, to know, and recognize an opportunity. To know what a breadcrumb looks like, feels like, what you sense it to be, and to recognize where it's at so you can embrace it. We want to activate and we want to download you recognizing the breadcrumb, that you're able to recognize those breadcrumbs that show up. You're not afraid of them anymore. You're not scared of embracing it, or at least exploring it. The breadcrumb may take you to a new breadcrumb place. Explore it. You want the inspiration from your soul's wisdom to use that breadcrumb to go in the next direction. It may be like I did on the one modality. Don't do this one. You're supposed to go do this one. But I would have never gone and done this one if I hadn't tried that one first. Never. And it was not that that one was a bad one, but it led me in the direction for me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now we want to activate and download doing an action, our response to those breadcrumbs. That you do an action, you explore, read the book, listen to the book, check it out, do what you need to do. We cleaned out all of the gunk, we cleaned out all the black stuff, and it's gone, and there's room for new stuff, so you have room to explore. Explore, we want to download you having an action to explore the inspiration. Sometimes we're getting a whole lot of inspirations and we don't know it. So downloading the feeling, to know it's safe, to know what it feels like, to know that what it is to be. We want you to download what it feels like to be safe with what the Creator sends to you. And that you can understand your soul's wisdom. And for those of you, if you aren't able to intentionally connect, I really encourage you to start working on intentionally connecting and learning ways to do it. We will just learn how to get in and totally intentionally connect to your soul's wisdom. When you know in every cell of your body that was from your source, that was from source of all that is, that was from my soul's wisdom, that was from my guides. It makes a huge difference on being able to accept the response that they ask you to do. It's a whole lot easier now. I totally know when I get told to do something that I didn't particularly want to do. But when I first started, I didn't understand it. When I enrolled in that first class I took, I cried for hours because I spent $400 on a class that I already knew all the information about. And I was just like sick to my stomach. But when I wasn't supposed to be in there for the information, I was supposed to be in there for the connections I was going to make. and for the places that was going to drive me, for the books that I was going to read, and for the people I was going to meet. And it put me to the next breadcrumbs all the way through and put me on the road. It's done that for many. That's what you want to do, every cell in me. And I intentionally know now when it's there, and I know how to ask and get there. They want you to download recognize the activations of when you have been inspired, and to know what they look like, and to start developing signposts or your own breadcrumb symbols that you can do. So how many people use 222? Or how many people see a number? Or how many people see their birthday? How many people turn around and look at it from there? I use lime green cars all the time. I set up this intention of, if I see a lime green car, I need to pay really, really close attention. And I want to be able to stop and know that that was something, whatever I was thinking about was really important. And I can, to this day, be working on something and I see a lime green car, and oftentimes I'll see 2 and 3 and I'll know, oh my gosh, this is so important. And I now pick up my phone and record it because it's like important to do. If I can open up the computer and change windows, and on my Yahoo screen that opens up first on it, which wasn't even supposed to open up first because I was on mail, and all of a sudden it's back at the Yahoo, there will be a lime green car, a lime green vehicle of some sort sitting on that screen, and I will know what I was doing was important and I need to look at it and explore it more. So download the activation to know what to do with the information that you get. Ask them to show you how to use it next. Ask them to do it and ask to figure out ways to do it. Activate the downloads. That's where we're at. We want to turn around and activate a new pathway so that when an inspiration comes, you have a new pathway to think about it, and not those old ones like frustration and memory, those toxic memories. We want to activate a brand new thing that gives you the opportunity to see it with fresh eyes. The one thing I can say that happened after my right eye detached from my body and everything had a distorted look is I learned to see everything with a new set of eyes. What you may see and what I may see may be two totally different worlds, but that doesn't mean anyone's wrong. And it's just the way it's coming through my lens and the way it's coming through my optic nerve. That whole thing on there is that, can you do it? So let's ask for divine timing as well, and that neurotransmitter new pathway, that you get divine timing. And the last one they want to do, that looks like there's 2 more, excuse me, is to activate empowerment. To be empowered to move forward at the right time, at the right place, with the right people, so that you can thrive. That you can thrive. This one's still going. We're going to activate this one in a few more minutes. That you want to be able to learn how to ask, is this the right place? Is this the right time? Are these the right people? Is this where I'm supposed to be? And if it's not, then you learned where you weren't supposed to be, and don't be frustrated. Try not to be frustrated. Let go of frustration and move on to, oh, that took me to a better pathway. I don't need to go on the road that has all the potholes. I need to get in my own little new vehicle that sort of flies in a new way. And I want you to do the last one, is to download the courage and determination to intentionally learn how to connect, to know when it's your soul's wisdom and when it's not. And if you can turn around and figure out and understand and learn and get your lessons, we will do that. So we want to activate all these. Yes. So I am supposed to do, probably supposed to do it like this. Let me hold it up. They want me to do a general activation of inspiration, and for you to start recognizing and set a sign or a symbol. Set yourself a sign or a symbol that's your thing to know. You've just had something come along that's supposed to give you guidance. That guidance may be to read a book. That guidance may be to watch a movie. Let's say that a movie comes up 3 different times, and maybe you're supposed to go figure out how to watch it, and that's going to give you guidance on what to do next. It's possible that all at once, it's like there's a direction to go. I cannot tell you how many things I have done based upon my little symbols that I asked my creator. I asked my guide to give me this particular symbols, which I use lime green cars, and I use the symbols of 222. Thank you. So when I went to motion code training, I just asked for a room, and I was rooming with somebody that I had never met in person, but I met on and through this group that I had been in. And in there, I got to the hotel. I got there first, and then I went to the airport to pick her up to go get. It was a deal to go do. Got to the room. The room was 222. It was a miraculous thing, an extraordinary experience to go through motion code training live with Brad Nelson in place, with my mentor and with this other soul that was just changed my life. And to this day, we're close friends. So I go to the next retreat that I was going to go to. And I go and I get there and I get there early. And I'm rooming with two more people that I had never met in person that had came from the same group. And we all went to Sedona together. And I get to our room and it's 222. And it was like, wow, 222 again. This is extraordinary. From there, I started learning about how I could turn around and activate and do some things. The next thing I went to a place, and I had this wonderful roommate who's a part of this group, as a matter of fact, now. And we had the room 223, but there wasn't a room 222. It was a cabin, and it was room 223. And that was our cabin. But we were in room 223, and there was no 222 because I actually did go check. And that was in a New Mexico spot. And that summer, later, I went to the ACEP, which is the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology, which is where my insurance is through. And I've done the certification training for energy psychology and multiple things with them. And I got there and I had a room, and my room was 22. It was my year to stop and know everything I was doing was on the right track every single time. Now, it may not ever happen again, and it's not important. My spouse surprised me and took me on a trip to Maui, which was quite a big shock. And it was awesome. And our condo was condo 22. And it was, every day I swam with the sea turtles and had 14 days of swimming with sea turtles. And 14 days of pure looking out over a view that was just amazing to me and relaxing. And I came back having a true sense of what I was supposed to be doing. So as you do it, sometimes symbols and signs are really important. And I hope that you'll stop and look at it. I'm going to put out a book list of some books that have some really helpful things in them that might help you stop and recognize those if you need some more ways to do it. And perhaps we'll get some videos out of that as well. So thank you for listening. And if you need to re-listen to this, please feel free to do so. And I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you so much.